Let us start this lecture with a thought process. Human life is as elegant and fragile as a glass jar. And today we will be discussing about glass technology in ancient India. A question might be coming to your mind, what is glass? A glass is basically a non-crystalline amorphous solid with wide usage. And chemical composition of glass varies from place to place, and also it depends on applications. The main constituent of the glass is basically silica, and of course, it is having various forms. As the glass generally contains around 75% silica, and then rest of the additives like sodium oxide, sodium carbonate, lime, and various other coloring additives are being used for the making glass. And these I have shown some of the ancient glass bead from Kochi in Kerala, and we will be talking about little bit historical aspect later on. Let us see that how this glass was evolved. The vitreous paste, the fleet faience, glaze pottery were known as the cousin of glass and its evolutionary stages. And of course, it was being evolved due to the continuous development in pyrotechnology, which formed the basis for the manufacturing of glass. And later on, of course, composite pyrotechnology was used. This pyrotechnology can handle the low melting point impure glass. As a result, the workability of the glass can be improved. Let us look at the how and when the glass was originated in India. In Harappan side, you will not really find any glass objects as being claimed by researcher. However, later on in around 300 BC, in some archaeological sites, people have found bangles, beads, and other faience items. From this evidence, one can conclude that the science of colored glass using cupric and cuprous oxide were known to Indians at least around 300 BC. And most discovered glasses were of blue and red color, which might be due to abundant availability of copper in this region. In Haryana, around 200 BC, some of the glasses made of black and sky blue color were being obtained in the excavation sites, which may be due to the presence of cupric copper. And nature of glass at various sites, when you look at, most of the archaeological sites have discovered beads, bangle, seals, and ornamental pieces. Of course, nowadays the glass is very cheap, and we use for various other applications, optics, like your laser glass, and then several places. And but at that time it was considered to be a very precious, and they were used as ornaments. And glass flourished during the Mauryan period because the people have found out several seals from Kumara and Bulandi Bagh areas, and these are the seals which were obtained from these two sites, and these are all Brahmi lipis are being mentioned. They were using it as a seal. And most chemical analysis show that they are low in silica and has soda and potash, maybe for lowering the melting point of the glass. And iron was being used for as a coloring agent, because iron was there eastern part of the country and even some other parts of the country also. and chromium was used for coloring, but was confined to certain region. If you look at here, I am showing you a glass seal of 24 centimeter square and 10 mm thick, which was obtained in Maheswara MP and other seals in in MP. This is this one, and which is having a color of amber. And there are several seals were obtained in the Taxila during excavation. There are several seals of different like motifs are there, and if from this one can conclude that the science of annealing was known to the ancient glass making people, because the strength of this glass was quite good, which cannot be possible without annealing it. That is a seal, glass seal, which was obtained in Maheswar in 300 BC. The glass disc and ear reels with different color were found during the excavation, and black glass disc with legend Brahmi script in red glass were housed in the museum Patna, Banaras and Allahabad region. One can get it. I must tell you that lot of these excavated items are being preserved in various museums across the country. One can visit and find it out and also do research on that. And this disc might be fabricated by pulling the large size glass canes, what people have anticipated. The ear reels in good numbers have been reported from Ujjain, Maheswar in MP, Nasik, Kaundinyapur in Vidarbha region, which are colored with white, vermilion, opaque and blue and green color. That means they were using a lot of coloring agents for that, or maybe some impurities are there. And of course, this is still the common era, what was known earlier Christian era. And people are claiming that Western people, particularly from Rome, they influenced the glass technology in India, because of there was a trade between the Rome and India at that time, and the local industry might have acquired some new technology of glass making from the West, particularly the glass bowls and mosaic tablets were imported as claimed by some of the researcher, but more research has to be done to prove it, because reason given by the researcher is not that sound. And presence of large glass tiles shows evidence that local industry was flourished at that time. And particularly, let me just show you the glass bowl in Taxila, which are being shown here, and these were made in Taxila by the foreign technology as claimed by the some researcher, but I feel that more research should be done to prove that. And NEFSA in Maharashtra has yielded 12 rim glass containers in emerald green and blue and yellow color, and the glass tiles of square 10.25 inch and 0.2 thickness was obtained in Maharashtra excavation in and glass was also flourished in Satavahan period around something 50 BC to 250 CE in Deccan region. It is not that only the Taxila and other Indus Valley area, civilization area, Harappan site, but also the other parts like southern part also having evidence of glass items. So, this glass flask was obtained from Taxila, which dates back to around 100 CE. So, there are several as you call glass objects were obtained from the Satavahana sites. They are the object which are basically top view is shown here, and here this top view, these are the utensils, and these are various items which are shown starting from the bead to the various intricate complicated shapes, sizes being obtained. So, let us look at how the glass was manufactured. Of course, the ingredients were generally used the river sand or crude natron and coloring agents. These are the three ingredients which are important. Though the calcium carbonate was added, but sand containing lime was directly used due to their abundant availability. Let us look at the two stage process which is being talked about. First, of course, the sand and natron were being heated to the temperature of 750 degrees Celsius, which is called the frit. Frit is partly fused glass, and then subsequently it is heated in a crucible around 1100 degrees Celsius, so that it will be homogeneous and become clear. Finally, poured into a mold to the cast seals or slabs or any other things what one can think of, or it can be rolled into rods to make them canes or sticks. And if you look at the same casting process is being used what we had discussed during the metal casting process. The features of Indian glass, if you look at, the annealing of the glass objects were carried out to improve the quality, and most of the objects were translucent, not transparent. Of course, later on the transparent glass was made in country, but in earlier days it was not. And chemical analysis reveals that they have a high alumina content, but low lime content and low magnesium. And most ancient glasses are soda lime silica glasses, as I told that melting point will be very low. And even today also people are using this glass for making beads and other things in the UP and some other places also. And most glasses contain iron oxide because it was profusely being across the country, and it is as a part of impurity, or people might be adding to color the glass. There are no traces of lead, antimony, tin and phosphorus due to the source of raw material being taken. Let us look at some of the coloring agents, like cuprous oxide is used for the red and liver red, and ferric oxide is brown, and ferrous oxide being for black, and tin oxide for white color, and of course, for green mixture of cuprous, ferrous and ferric oxides were being used, and for turquoise blue is the cupric oxide being used, and cobalt oxide is used for deep blue, and ferric oxide for yellow, and magnesium oxide for violet. So, these are the coloring agents what ancient were being used in ancient time for making glass. Actually, the foreign technology has come, some of the people are talking about it, but mostly the industry was indigenous, limited to beads and bangles. That is, the indigenous technology of glass making was limited to the beads and bangles as claimed by some researcher. And if they find that lead, antimony and tin in some of the glasses, they always say that this is of foreign origin, but I really couldn't say why, because lead was here in this country, tin was also there. So, why they will say that it is of foreign origin is a questionable thing. And potash glasses having high silica content also give an indication of Roman glass, and potash is being used in our iron, in the rustless iron pillar I had discussed. So, why these people are saying that one has to also do research and find out? Because of these two reasons they are saying these glasses are from the western countries. And of course, you can find presence of barium and lead in some glasses prove that Chinese Indian traded as well as 200 BC. Right. Again, if you look at that way, I do not know what they are interpreting. These are the logic which were given by researcher, which I do not think is right, or may be right, I do not know, but more research is required to remove these doubts from the minds of the people. So, variety of glass objects were made in ancient time, and some of these objects are being mentioned here, like bead making, and even till we are making the not only the beads but also bangles and hollow wares and moulding glass objects and glass blowing process. So, some of the things medieval Indian glass I have shown here, it is a various very colorful and lot of items, how they are making this art. It is basically an art, it is very looking very complicated and also gorgeous and colorful. So, various tools were being used for making glasswares in ancient India. Some of them I am just discussing here. One is sikha. Sikha is basically a long rod meant for stirring the molten glass and semi molten glass. And tokla. Tokla is iron rod with a thick butt and tapered point. And if you look at the sarendi, a straight iron rod used for manipulating blown bubbles of glass, and chitarna, an iron rod used for providing zigzag shape to the bangles, because for making bangle you have to give that shape. And sarangajana, which I have shown a figure here, a long tapering rod of iron fitted with wooden handle. This is your wooden handle, which is used to separate bangles in semi molten state. And of course, the smaller one is known as bandhana. The kalkul, it is an iron ladle used for dishing out the molten glass. This is the kalkal. Anakari is an long iron rod hooked at one end used for stirring the molten glass. And let us look at the patha. It is a dagger shaped tool used for pressing and molding glass in the molten state, and this similar thing is also being used for concrete work. And the kalbut or thapi is a clay cone used for enlarging the glass bangle to required size. It will be rotated. I will be showing some of this thing to you in a video. Null, of course, or what we call phunkuni, is basically a pipe through which you will be blowing the glass, and masha, a iron sear used to shape the objects and separating from the blow, like this masa is basically a tong in English you can call, and chimta, or some people call it simta. Simta is a iron tongs to handle broken chips of glass and seal the slab stone used for marbling it. So, let us look at bead making. What is being done during the bead making is that first the molten glass will have to be stirred with an iron bar, as I told. Lump of this glass gathers at one end, and once it is being then fix the another iron bar on the lump, and maybe another craftsman will be pulling this quickly and running with a pace. That means, he will be also travelling toward that with a pace to form a long rod. See, rod is being made like that, right. Suppose you are having some glass and then you move it, right, and at a little speed, so that glass can be made. And using a small tweak, glass tubes are formed, and air cavity was created before pulling the lump using a blown iron. That means, you can make a tube. Of course, this is for making a what you call hollow pipe, the glass tube we want to make by this. This may be used for bead making or may not be, but one can make that by blowing the air through that. And tubes with specific diameter drawn out and cut, and rods and threads were wound around an iron rod and cut. These are the process what is being done, like basically to make these beads. And then I will be showing you a video that how this bead can be made, and this again it has to be rotated. If you take this thing and you will make it rotate with a iron rod sticking to this this glass, right, and one can rotate that thing so that it will be moving through, and then one bead can be made. So, let us see that how the glass bead being made. So, here it is a what you call a flame which is coming out of burning of liquid fuel. Nowadays people are using kerosene, but earlier days people were using the bio oil or vegetable oil, and of course, there is a way of blowing the air so that you can get a blue flame, and blue flame is essential for making the good uncontaminated bead. So, if you look at what this artist is doing, he is rotating the glass which is on the what you call in the iron rod. This is your iron rod, and as it rotating, it is taking a bead shape, and you can say it is basically a something centrifuging effect will be there here. And after that, he will be using this thing for a die to get some proper shape and size kind of things. So, this is the way how the glass bead is being made. Due to larger contraction in the wire than in the glass, it was easy to remove from the wire, and uniform finish can be obtained due to heat treatment, because some annealing can be done about that. Let us now look at the bangle making. What is being done here? One has to take out small amount of molten glass using an anquery or a hook to wound around a spit to give it a ring shape. Then this ring shape is allowed to cool in using a dagger and transfer into a cone, and the cone will be rotating. I will be showing a video to show that. As a result, the centrifugal force will be acting, and then it will be enlarged and it will take a proper circular shape. The cone is spun rapidly and the ring is pushed to the desired shape. Finally, it is slipped off and cooled. So, this is a very simple technique even people are using today, and this you can call it as a centrifugal casting or a semi centrifugal casting, because RPM is not that much here. So, let us look at what is being done here is some kind of a molten glass is being taken, and then it will put into round shape and is putting into this rotating cone, and then which is enlarging, again it is being taken and then do that. So, this is the process by which what we call the bangle is being made. So, look at this is the cone which is rotating at a certain RPM, and depending upon RPM it will get into and it will end here. There is a stopper, so that size can be managed with this stopper on this mandrel which is rotating. Let us see now that hollow glasswares were being made by the core techniques, and these are the some of the glassware from Gujarat I have shown, which is hollow, and this is a glass which we used to use earlier days. Nowadays, we are using plastic tumbler, and hollow glasswares found in Deveni Mori in Gujarat, Amreli in Saurashtra region of Gujarat, Ter in Maharashtra and other places, which were considered to be manufactured by the core technique. What is being done here, a stick or a rod housing a conical end is coated with a ball of sand held together by a cloth. That means, basically a cone was there, and then what is being done, that some sand being placed with the help of a cloth, and then and this is your mold, you can say one kind of mold. This stick is dipped into a molten glass and taken out immediately, and then alternately thin rods in the soft form were wound around this cone and fire polished to give a finish. That means, basically you have to go to the flame and then go on trying to melt the rest of the material out of the outer side, and you will get a hollow glassware. Finally, the core with the sand is removed on the cooling or giving to a hollow core, because the sand was there, then you can remove the sand portion. I mean, basically sand is used as an insulating material also. For that you can have a mold and do that. So, this is a simple technique what was being devised earlier and being used, and let us look at the molding of glass objects. This method is one of the simplest and used to prepare glass tiles and seals, and it follows the same metal casting procedure what we had discussed earlier. First of all, the glass is to be melted, and then it is to be poured into a clay, sandstone or a siliceous molds, and then of course, this I have shown here, a diagram which is not of ancient origin, but the present one. What will there is a mold is here already, and you will melt the glass and then pour it, and it will slowly enter into this mold and take a shape, and you allow it to cool, and then so that you will get a glass object out of this. There is another technique, that is glass blowing process, and in this process is considered to be imported from western country, like particularly Rome, and blowing was done either way, either in a mold or in a free manner, right. You can see even glass blowing section people do use like a glass by the free manner, and that is an art, or you can use a pipe to blow that air in proper manner. In the mold, a small lump was taken and blown, introduced a bivalve mold, that in the two side, right, which can separate it, blown to fill it up. Whereas in free blowing, lump is blown and the shaped using a polished steel or a brass board, and so that you will get a proper shape kind of things. So, let me show you that a bowl of glass from the Brahmananda, which is around something 400 AD, was obtained in the Sindh site, and is now preserved in the Prince Wells Museum, because this was obtained in 1909 before independence. So, and this glass iridescent glass dates back to the 400 CE, and it has been anticipated that it might be made by the blowing melted method, or the blowing process in an open mold, but how it was made, it was really not being talked about it, and then one has to find out. And this is the picture which I guess it can be done maybe by what you call rotating the thing, so that you will get a good shape. So, more research is need to be carried out to find out how it was made in earlier time, how we can make. Let me tell you what I have done in this. I have tried to take the ancient technologies which are related to the life. For example, agriculture, then water, and also the clothings like textiles we had discussed, and we have also discussed about the housings, and beside these metallurgical things. And if you have looked at this kind of technology which were discussed in this lecture, you can conclude, and I have a feel that these technologies are quite simple and elegant in nature, and these technologies can be improved on, and also can be used today without spoiling the mother nature. Most of them are organic in nature, and they were using the local materials and also indigenously developing these technologies. And these a lot of scopes were there for more innovation. As I told, man is a creative and a curious creature by nature. So, therefore, it is essential for a person to be creative, and then we can indulge in the this kind of arts or the cottage industries, such that we will feel satisfied and happy about it, and also we can earn some money in the process and keep the tradition. So, therefore, my suggestion to you, all of you who are taking this course, that this is a very important thing, and we need to keep this indigenous technology alive, and also the as a part of our heritage, we will take responsibility for its propagation and do that, because we are facing the problem of cultural invasion. What these Britishers and then Muslim rules or the other things for years together, they couldn't really spoil our culture the way these globalizations and then other modern times spoiling or taking away our culture and heritage. So, therefore, I would like to urge upon all of you that whatever I have shown you, it is a very tips of the iceberg. It is a very small portion, there is a lot of things are there. What we can do, one way is that we attend, we know this, but very important thing, we need to spend some of our valuable time, whatever we got in this life, to keep this heritage and culture intact. For that we need to do research, and for that also we need to propagate this knowledge, and also we can use this technology to entrepreneurs, because most of the technologies even today are with the poor, downtrodden, and the people who are being neglected for years together by the society. And we should work with them and give them opportunity to propagation and employment. And let me tell you that this, if we can revive this indigenous technology which are integrated with the mother nature, it will be not only helping us to generate wealth, but also it will show the ways and means to modify our modern life, so that it can be integrated with the mother nature and it can be made also sustainable development. And we can also use these technologies and revive it, and this can may be adopted by the Western people later on, provided we work for it, and that will be the turning point for instead of follower than that of a leader. In other words, we became a world leader provided we keep our tradition and improvise our indigenous technology which are about to die, and work for it. And I wish all the best for all of you, and if some of you could work for this cause, I will be glad, and then I feel that this effort of making this lecture is fruitful and useful. Thank you very much.